Bitcoin death cross? And is this actually destroying the crypto super cycle that we were promised, right? That's what everybody is talking about. So there's a lot of different commentary all over the internet about the super cycle, what that is, if we're still in a 4-year cycle and whatnot. So we're going to go ahead and kind of go through the charts. Well, mostly Bitcoin. We're going to really kind of talk about that. Those that are watching on Tiki Taki, there's about 100 of you over there, 100 something. If you want to see the screen, go over to go over to the tube. We'll talk about that. I also want to explain what a death cross is, because I think that it's incredibly important as context, because we tend to forget regarding technical analysis. I know I do, and I know that I need a little bit of a refresh always, but it's Sunday, go Hawks. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the current state of the market, what we're kind of seeing in the charts, and what some of these top analysts are also calling for, because some people are saying 4-year cycle is dead. Others are saying it's not. Others are calling for like $1 million Bitcoin, all these crazy things. And I know the market's rough. And I had put out a video for you guys basically, and we've been talking a lot about accountability. And a lot of people are like getting mad at me. They're like, Wendy, you have to be nice, blah, blah, blah. This is the thing. I respect and I support all of you guys, primarily the ones that are able to practice critical thinking and self-education. What I say is not end all be all. It's really, really, really not. And at the end of the day, especially when we're talking about investing, personal accountability is important. It's very, very, very important. It's important for everybody. It's important for every single industry or anything you want to do in life. And I can start doing like more tradfi or like more content about that, because I'm seeing a big discourse about personal accountability, especially on X, especially when we're talking about mortgages and student loans and personal spending and those types of things, because it gets a little bit hectic. But I digress. We're going to get into the markets and what's happening with that. If you guys want to see more content like that, go ahead and comment. Good morning to YouTube, to Twitch, to Rumble, to TikTok. And I want to give a quick shout out to my channel members on YouTube who support me. Good morning to John Legend for supporting me, showing up on this Sunday. Mr. R showing up, Mr. Dale, MJ Guzman. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Thank you so much. All right, let's go ahead and get into it because there's a bit to cover. And I'm in the middle of cooking right now. So first and foremost, let's talk about what a death cross is, because you're going to be seeing a lot of that in crypto news, which is incredibly important. Okay, so first and foremost, Investopedia is actually my favorite free play. Investopedia and Binance are my favorite. Binance blogs are my favorite place to get basics about markets, get basics about technical analysis. And this is a big part of how I learned to trade. So let's go ahead and talk about what a death cross is first, so we have an understanding of what that means, because you're going to see that a lot. So it's a chart pattern that refers to the drop of a short-term moving average. Most people use SMAs. I use EMAs, exponential moving averages, because they move faster. And I use those on TradingView. And when I do trade and I do use those, I prefer EMAs because they move faster and they represent crypto a little bit better. And you can speed those up, slow them down, whatever it is you want to do based on your trading and investing strategy. But all that it is, it's with the 50 and the 200 day. So the death cross appears on the chart when a stock short-term moving average, usually the 50-day, crosses below the long-term moving average, usually the 200 day. And when we take a look at the chart over here, the purple is going to be the 50 EMA, and this is going to be the 200 EMA. So this is what we're talking about with a death cross. So basically, it's with the 50 EMA is going to break down below. That's what we're going to see. However, a very interesting pattern that we're seeing, and again, this is called a death cross. It's incredibly bearish in most cases, especially when we're talking about stocks. We can apply it to crypto too, especially Bitcoin. Now, with that being said, we almost had a death cross over here back in April of 2025, and then we reversed. I want to say it was Ben Cowan, probably Mr. Bitcoin Dominance. Mad respect for him. Great human being, great channel, does a lot of great education stuff. I want to say he had posted something about waiting for confirmation with that. So make sure you guys check out his video. He's totally on it and whatnot. But again, we do need to wait for confirmation. When we're talking about these indicators, we do have to wait for confirmation. However, pretty much every single indicator is a lagging indicator. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means it moves a lot slower than what the market's actually doing. Because again, if these are like in real time or ahead, which I think AI may be able to advance that one day, crazy stuff happening, we'll get a bit of a different picture. So a lot of people are talking about this bear cross I call it a bear cross or a death cross, but the death cross that's happening. And as falling into a bear market. There's people that are saying the super cycle is over. So if you want to learn more about what a death cross is or various technical analysis, even refreshing on traditional financial stuff, Investopedia, great place. Binance blog is another great place. And there's other great resources. I just like these articles, the way they're broken down, because they show you examples of crosses, death versus golden, limitations, what happens, all these different things. And this generally does signal a bear market. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pull up some posts on X from various analysts, from people that are big investors, big money, that are talking about all kinds of stuff. So Mr. Hunter Horsley from Bitwise says, we talk about 4-year cycles, but the reality is the model is based on a bygone era of crypto. Since the launch of the Bitcoin ETF and new admin, we've entered a new market structure, new players, new dynamics, and new reasons people buy and sell. I think there's a pretty good chance that we've been in a bear market for almost 6 months, and now we're almost through it. The setup for crypto right now has never been stronger. I can get behind this perspective. And again, I'm going to give you guys these different posts, and then we'll go ahead and we'll cover them together. So he's basically saying that we've been in a bear market for about 6 months, and we're almost through it. Let's go ahead and apply this to the chart. So we are in, what are we in? We're in November. So what would 6 months ago be? And again, I'm still a little bit under the weather. My mouth is not good right now. So 6 months ago was May, June, July, August, September, October, November. So like May, April-ish. So I think he's referring to this potential bear cross that happened back in April, around that time. And basically saying we've been in a bear market since then. I guess that's 6 months ago. So May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Or we can go to May, June, July, August, September, October, November. No. June, July, August, September, October, November. So June. So let's go to June. So it's kind of saying around the last 6 months, but that would be when we had that incredible run up. So I don't necessarily know if I agree with that. I feel like we could have been the bear market kind of started. We can say maybe in October. That's when some other people are calling it. So I don't necessarily agree with he's saying that. I agree that the 4-year cycle or the 4-year model might be gone, but I don't necessarily agree that we've been in a bear market for almost 6 months. That I don't. I do agree that the setup for crypto has changed significantly because of new players, new dynamics, and new reasons that people buy and sell, primarily because of the institutions. Somebody on TikTok said that July is the peak. July would be back over here when we got a swing wick high on the daily. Well, let's go to the weekly over here, just so you can see. Yeah, I mean, so if you take a look at the weekly, because again, each chart shows a different perspective. July, it could be that because we had multiple swing wick highs, a little bit different, but the daily shows a different perspective over here. So it could have been the peak, but it also does look like the actual top was the great crypto liquidation when we liquidated about $1.2 billion. And we talked a little bit about that yesterday. So there's that perspective. Also, from Unusual Whales, they posted this clip about Kathy Lee. She's talking about Bitcoin hitting $1.3 million by 2030. And good morning to Mr. John Germain. And we're also getting that perspective a lot. We're seeing a lot of different people in her position that run funds and that are very interested in crypto and all the type of things. We're seeing this type of conversation over here as far as the idea that Bitcoin will hit $1 million by 2030. A lot of people are saying that. And that I could possibly tend to agree with. I do think that Bitcoin will hit $1 million. It's just a matter of when. So 2030, that would be in about 4 years. That could make sense. I'd be so happy if Bitcoin hit $1 million. Really, really would be happy. I'd be doing incredibly well, but I want that $10,000 Ethereum too. So this is an interesting perspective called by her, and this is something that's been floating around for a while. And then this is from Mr. Thomas Lee from Fundstrat, but he's talking about Bitcoin being a volatile asset. He said basically he's talking about when they first recommended Bitcoin to Fundstrat clients, X, Y, and Z. Takeaway: to have gained 100 times from a super cycle, one had to stomach essential moments to hold. Crypto prices discounting a massive future. Today, we believe that ETH is embarking on the same super cycle. So in this, he's talking about Ethereum entering into some sort of super cycle. So there's all this commentary back and forth. Are we in a super cycle? Are we not? But realistically, everybody's kind of watching the charts right now, primarily this figure this bear cross. So are we in a bull market? Are we in a bear market? Are we in a super cycle? I think that we are in a transitional period. That's what I want to call it. I want to call it a transitional period primarily because this cycle is very much different. It's very much different because Bitcoin economics is working a lot differently. Somebody like Mr. John Germain, somebody that knows about mining, they're really good at Bitcoin mining economics, because when you're mining Bitcoin, you have to account for the energy used, profits that have to be sold to essentially cover those costs. And again, that's a really complex thing for me. But those values and the way the Bitcoin mining economics has evolved has changed a lot, because you're able to take out collateralized loans on Bitcoin on these assets to essentially pay your bills, pay for your operations, instead of, selling OTC, et cetera. That's what used to happen way back when. So there's that. But in addition to that, so the Bitcoin mining economics has changed. It's still running, the halvening is still 4 years and whatnot. But at the same time, the way people are taking profit and doing that is different. And now we have the big banks in. We have tradfi, and we have these entities that are legally allowed to participate, which they were participating before. I've talked about that on streams with hanging out with folks over at OTC desks and whatnot. But moral of the story is it's 100% legal, because those guys have been here. They've been in Bitcoin since. But now it's legal for them to really enter, to invest on behalf of their clients and whatnot. So the market kind of structure is going to be the same. So for me personally, the way that I'm thinking, again, I'm holding on to my Bitcoin. If you think I took your money, you're barking up the wrong tree, sir. Unfortunately, it's probably an impersonator, and I hope that wasn't the case. But I do not have any paid groups. I don't invest for people. I don't do any of those things. And all my official socials will be on my website, CryptoWendyO. So unfortunately, that does happen quite a bit, and that's an issue with the social media platforms, unfortunately. But I don't really for me personally, I think that this is just a transitional market. I think that we're getting ready to kind of transition into a kind of new cycle, if that makes sense. So it's a bull market, a bear market, super cycle. I think it's a transitional market. And I think different markets will be able to time a little bit better and understand a little bit more, because we'll already have something that's established. And again, when we're talking about technical analysis and looking at the charts and stuff, all of these indicators are math backed. They're all math backed. And they're a good way to kind of look back in history to see what story was being told. Because again, the 2017, 2020, 2021, those bull markets and bear markets that come out of those, we're able to kind of go back and see what the difference was. Because if we even go back to the 2020, excuse me, this is the wrong chart for that. We got to go over here. So if we go back to the 2017 bull market, we really kind of had one massive pump in 2017, and then we went straight down. In the next bull market, when it was 2020, 2021-ish, we started in 2020, we pumped twice in 2021. And then now in this bull market, even in 2024, we pumped twice, 1, 2. And then in 2025, we pumped 1, 2, 3 on the weekly. So maybe we'll get another pump back up to like 140 or whatever that is. I'm not exactly sure. But it looks like if we take a look at just these kind of charts over here, these basic rudimentary things over here, we pumped once in 2017. In 2021, twice. And these were kind of epic runs too. Like we pumped all the way to about 64,000, then we dropped to 30,000, and then we pumped again to about 69,000. And that's when we really had the bear market back to like 16,000. And then we pumped quite a few times on our way up to $126,000. So with that being said, I think that we're in a transition period, and it seems like these cycles are getting longer and longer each time. So there's that. Now I do want to take a quick look, and think you got a quick look at what we're seeing with the markets short term, and also make sure to like, share, comment, all the things. And I got a lot of tea for you guys tomorrow too. There's a lot of interesting things that have happened. So as far as Bitcoin goes, we peaked at about $125,000 back in September of 2025. We're trading below the EMA 50, which was 101,000. Currently trading at $95,000. We got a swing high at 100. Oops. There we go. We got a We got a swing wick high to 107,000 here. Currently trading at about 94,000, and we opened at 104,000. So as far as price action goes, we're not doing really, really great right now. We're actually, this week, we were about a 12% decline, or down about 12%. We do have support, pretty strong support here at about 94,000 approximately. But at the same time, we could go a lot lower and hit about 65,000. I'm not calling for 65,000, but this is currently where the EMA 200 is on the weekly. There are analysts that are calling for 75,000, et cetera, those types of things. I'm not ready to call that yet. But on the daily is where you'll see this this death cross, this bear cross over here. And a nice area that looks great for support is 85,000. So we'll see what ends up happening there. But on the daily, we're also looking like we're ready to lose support a little bit as far as this $94,000 area support goes. And then we do have more at about $90,000. So we are holding on, but it's not looking super great. And again, these do generally take a little bit of time to confirm the death crosses. Now, if we take a look at the bigger chart over here, as far as what areas of support we can see, this is where price will generally tend to hit. And what you can do is you can actually toss on fibs and see what's going on there as well. Those work pretty well. I'm a lazy trader in that way. But then there's support of 86,000, 80,000, and then 73,000. So there's a lot of people calling for different things. But the EMA 200 is sitting pretty nicely at about 68,000. I'm not calling for that. I'm just showing that to you. So that's kind of what's going on with the market. Market cycles, in my opinion, are in a transition period and whatnot. I know. Thank you so much, DJ Stocks. I appreciate it. But one of the things I do want to say is a lot of people are, they are kind of blaming this current administration and whatnot. But I do want to talk about that. I want to talk about that really quickly. So before we go, so there's a lot of people that are upset about this current administration and Trump and whatnot. And that's, that's all fine and dandy because if we look at, if we're able, I think the most important thing is to be able to separate what he's doing for crypto and Bitcoin from what we're doing socially, what we're doing as far as all the other stuff that's happening in the US. Yes, there's a bunch of news, Observer Dude, but it's going to be in the beginning of the show. Well, really quickly. So as far as crypto goes, he's kept every promise he's made. I think the massive failure that he did have is letting his family launch the memecoins and get a little bit egregious with some of the businesses and some of the moves they made. I'm not a big fan of that, but it is what it is. Now, as far as the social stuff, again, the other policies, we have to be able to separate that. And I think that's good to do because a lot of people voted for him based on him being the crypto president, and other people voted on the social stuff or the American policy stuff. So it's important to be able to separate those. I will say, if we did have Harris, we probably would have had like one more crazy pump, and then it would have been banned. A lot of people would have gone to jail. A lot of innovation and a lot of things would have been stifled in my personal opinion. I think it would have been a lot more bearish than what we're seeing now. And we wouldn't have had any rules or regulations. And there was also someone that worked over at the SEC, this woman named Amanda. And this type of stuff that she's saying on X is just absolutely atrocious about crypto regulation and whatnot. And you have to understand that she's also not an attorney either, but she was one of the people that was making policies for crypto and the SEC. And as far as XRP goes, because I know that's one of your guys' favorites, XRP wouldn't be where it's at today. As far as the spot ETF, we wouldn't have any spot ETFs. And I know some of the arguments are that the ETFs aren't doing anything to the market, but they are in fact. It's just going to take a lot of time. And unfortunately, like we talked about yesterday, we had two black swan events, one being the shutdown, and then the other one, which was a public servant thing, and the other one was going to be the crypto, not the crypto contagion, but the great liquidation. So as far as him keeping promises, as far as being a crypto president, he's done pretty well on that aspect. I do not agree with like a lot of the meme coin stuff and the way his family is kind of executing some of their business deals and their actions in regards to that in crypto. Don't agree with all of that. But at the same time, I think it's a lot better environment for Americans in crypto than it would have been before. And we can debate about all the other American policies and social issues and stuff all day long. Not today, though. But I think it's important to separate that. So, moral of the story is, I think that we will get the Clarity Act. We will get hopefully we will get the yield with stablecoins, and the industry will continue to advance. It's just going to be moving a lot slower at this time. That's just my personal opinion. So, And I think it's important to have these types of discussions where we talk about what people have done wrong and what they've done right, and look at both sides of the picture. I think that's something that doesn't necessarily happen a lot, especially with the conversations on crypto Twitter. This is not crypto Twitter anymore, it's crypto X. And everything is really being stifled over there like crazy, really, really, really crazy. It's all bots over there. You can't really have a real conversation with anyone. And which is unfortunate that it's turned out that way, because you used to be able to get a lot of alpha from there and have real conversations. You can't. But at the end of the day, I think it's important to have a real conversation about the negatives and the positives. And then what you do is you analyze both the negative and positives, and you're emotionally mature enough to realize what those were, and then make an educated decision for yourself as an investor trader. That's just my personal opinion. So, we're in a transition market from what I think. I don't think, I'm not calling for a bull market, a bear market, calling for more of a transition market, primarily because we're in this really weird period right now, right? Yeah. So moral of the story is we're waiting for the Bitcoin death cross on the daily to confirm. That would be when we actually get the cross. Sorry, let me go back over here. Apologies. I'm thinking about my jambalaya I got on the stove. A similar one over here, April 22nd, 2025, if you guys want to go ahead and take a look at that to see what happens. And the death cross is when the EMA 50 drops below the EMA 200, which is the green line. If you want a refresher on that, I highly recommend to go to Investopedia. Free, wonderful, something we've always recommended to people. And then other than that, we're kind of waiting for that to confirm. And we'll kind of see what happens with the market from then. So there's that. Anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Go Hawks. I think you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for supporting me. And really quickly before we go, if you have any questions as to what you should be doing during this time, should you be buying the dip? Should you be dollar cost averaging? What should you be doing? What am I doing? Right now, I'm just kind of chilling and watching the market. There will be things that I will end up picking up, but if you're somebody who's like a big dollar cost averager, do what you got to do. As far as buying the dip, me personally, I'm just kind of watching things. So that we do enter a really gnarly bear market, because this cycle is a lot different than the last cycles, because we've got the institutions and big money coming in, plus all the spot ETFs that will be getting approved soon. I do think it is kind of important to really, really watch the market and not make any type of harsh decisions. Anyway, sending y'all love and light. Go Hawks. John is making me leave. He's like, okay, bye. Yeah, John will be buying the dip. But again, you guys got this. I believe in you. Just be really cautious right now. Consult to your trading investing journals. And I got some more content coming out for you at 2 p.m. PT. Bye, babies. Thank you.